John Bonaprise,
Here.
Doug Rowdy,
Here.
Jay Luke,
Here.
Jeremy Hall. Our 4 members present.
Okay, being 2:00, we'll have the public hearing regarding the bicycle pedestrian plan. Sure, Mr. Anderson's up.
Yep, you get to deal with me again. Lucky you guys.
We know water.
Do we need an official motion?
It's gonna be a long one.
Or is that's good? Okay.
Drink with.
Sounds good. All right. Well, thanks everyone for having me again. I'm here today to present on the draft bicycle and pedestrian plan. Figured I'd just go through a little bit of the background and how we got here. And then we can open it up for the public comments after that. First of all, I'd like to thank the advisory committee that worked with us on this. We had several members of the public, including people from local municipalities, the Woolly Bike Club, Bike Federation, and other interested parties that were participating in this as advisory committee members. So people that are well familiar with bicycle and pedestrian use and what things are needed for effective and functional bike routes and pedestrian routes in the county. So also want to thank Josh Kelch and Tony Novak for also providing a lot of significant staff time and input on this process. And then finally, regional planning, the senior planner Ross Peterzak from regional planning was the lead on this project and did most of the drafting of the plan. So we are in the West Central region, and every other county in the region except for Clark County has produced one of these plans. And one of the main goals of this plan was to seamlessly connect to the other parts of the region, whether it's Barron County, St. Croix County, Dunn County, and then over into Minnesota as well. So that's one of the reasons we worked with regional planning on this, as they were the ones that developed basically all the other plans in the region. So it made sense for us to use their same planning services to develop this plan. And then lastly, before I get into it, this plan was developed with the utilization of the Wisconsin Department of Transportation Alternatives Program grant program. And it allowed for 80% of the cost to be covered by the state of Wisconsin. So county was only on the hook for 100%. So it's a good deal for us. You have this presentation up there. You can go to the second slide. Is this working?
Oh, make sure you're pointing it back towards here, Tim. That's where the.
That's all right. I'll just tell you next slide. It's not working at this point. Before we get in, I just want to make sure that you understand that this plan is about opportunities, not obligations. There is no law that requires us to do anything in particular for bicycle and pedestrian facilities in the county, but it was something that the county board adopted, that we should pursue this planning process and identify these routes, which is why we had the advisory committee we did. So by having this plan, we've identified routes that are effective for connecting different communities and points of interest in the county, and also trying to utilize routes that cost the least infrastructure-wise for us, would require the least amount of investment, the least amount of updates in order to get those routes identified. It also opens the door for additional funding opportunities. So if we can utilize the Transportation Alternatives Program again for implementation of these projects, again, we would receive the 80-20% split. So it would cost the county significantly less than if we tried to do it on our own. Next, program background. Here, the team that we put together, I alluded to this already a little bit, myself, Public Works, the Highway Department Director, Josh Kelch, Tony Novak, the Parks and Trails Supervisor, the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, and then the Senior Planner, Ross Peterzak. Next slide. This is an overview of the project timeline. And we started about a year and a half ago, back in November of 24. We've had 6 advisory committee meetings sporadically throughout that time, and a decent amount of public engagement. We've had a survey that was open for a month back in April of last year. We got 250 responses or over 250 responses for that. We also had an open house to gather engagement information at the beginning of the process and to try to formulate this plan. Met with the advisory committee several times. In addition, after hearing that information, held a municipal workshop last fall where the cities and villages were invited to participate and also get their input as to how we want to connect from the county's perspective in the rural parts of the county, the unincorporated parts, into the incorporated parts of the county, since they do their own planning. Municipal, like cities and villages, do their own planning, so we just connect to them. And we have had a draft plan available since the 9th of February. And we had an open house on that draft plan, received several comments. Those have been incorporated into the plan, along with the advisory committee meeting one more time to have one last shot at making recommendations for this draft plan that you see before you in the packet. Now we're at the public hearing at the Public Safety Public Works Committee meeting. The next slide. If you've looked over the plan, you can see that there are 5 main components: the overview, network planning, an implementation manual. So if we were to proceed with any of these projects, what are the best practices? What are the things that are required in some of those implementation techniques, design guidelines, which will help with those implementation projects as well, and then how we connect into the regional network. Next slide. Moving on to the vision, goals, and objectives. These are kind of the overview of the direction for this plan. The vision statement that the advisory committee came up with is that Polk County works in collaborative partnership with towns, villages, and cities and counties to implement safe, convenient, and enjoyable walking and biking opportunities that serve a broad range of people of all ages and abilities and interests that will support tourism and quality of life and link communities to each other, the key destinations, and the surrounding areas. That's the overall compass direction that the plan is trying to achieve. Slide. So in order to achieve that vision, we've broken it down to several goals, and then objectives are the action steps that we'll take to achieve those goals. Again, we worked with public feedback from the survey and from the open house, along with the advisory committee feedback to develop these goals and objectives. The first one is expand the bicycle pedestrian network in the county. Objective 1, increase the overall mileage of bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure within the unincorporated areas of the county. Main driver of this is to connect all the incorporated communities. So having another way to get from city to city, village to village, those kind of things. And then we have a lot of parks, trails, recreational opportunities, and other key destinations in the county. We want to have ways to connect other than vehicles to get to those different opportunities in the county. And then lastly, when roadway projects are planned within the county and sometimes within the town, this plan should be looked at so that we can coordinate. And that's the best time to actually implement some of these projects is when you're redoing a roadway so that you don't have to do a separate expenditure outside of a roadway already being redone. And that can be something as simple as widening the shoulder or just striping something to add paint on the roadway to identify that there's bikes going to be here. Okay. Goal 2. Next slide, please. Develop a strong collaborative bike and pedestrian planning coalition. So meet regularly with the towns every year to explore opportunities to develop the proposed network and then engage in regional or local active transportation organizations. So that means like people-powered transportation organizations. Goal 3, next one. Increase opportunities for individuals to utilize the network. So amenities such as bicycle storage facilities at trailheads and popular destinations. Something like what we saw in the city of St. Croix Falls at our trail network plan. They have a brand new bicycle rack there and then 24-hour bathrooms right at the trailhead there at the information center. So that was done a few years ago. So something along those lines at trailheads. It has addressed deficiencies in the infrastructure related to ADA compliance, ensure that new infrastructure is ADA compliant, and then develop maps and trail routes that can be posted or shared with the general public. So kind of marketing ideas. Okay. Next goal. Promote the network, collaborate with local bike and pedestrian oriented entities to promote active tourism in the county. So again, we had a member of the Ice Age Trail, which is a well-established national trail network and organization on the committee. So that's a good idea to partner with those types of organizations as an example. And establish and implement wayfinding signage throughout the network. So kind of a similar goal to what we've done with the trail network plan is we want to have consistent uniform signage to direct people, wayfind people around the county for these different opportunities. All right, next one. Goal 5, address the network utilization and solicit continuous feedback. So conduct annual counts of users and then have a biannual survey of Polk County residents to determine use, interests, and needs of the community. So all of that leads into the routes within the county. So next slide. Just to keep this in front of everybody's mind as we're going through the routes, these are some considerations for the identification of the routes that we had in the county here. Connections to and between municipalities, connecting municipalities, but they plan their own boundaries. So we end at municipal boundaries. That's why we had the municipal roundtable, is so that we could connect with them and say, is this a good spot for us to enter or for the route to enter into their community? Connecting to the key features such as parks and trails and also including Minnesota. Direct to the planned regional network and state and national routes. So there are state and national routes that have been identified. There's a couple that go through kind of along the, I believe it's the, using traffic counts, shoulder width and conditions, topography and safety as key considerations when identifying the routes. We don't want to have stuff that's too steep, too narrow, that aren't safe, that kind of thing. So lower traffic counts, that kind of thing, provide more safety. And focus on the routes that are most direct and needing the least amount of improvements to establish. Okay. Next. This is an overview map of the trail network plan. The bicycle pedestrian plan. So roughly 266 miles total. Again, a lot of this is already existing. It would just need to be identified and signed and that kind of stuff. Connects the cities and villages along existing roadways and proposed trail networks, provides access to the 9 state parks, state and county parks. And one of the key drivers was to try to attempt to connect the Gandy Dancer and the Stour Seven Lakes State Trails. Next. Okay. One of the things that the advisory committee came up with was a recreational opportunity for gravel routes. Apparently it's an up and coming activity that a lot of people are interested in. So, and there's quite a few gravel routes in the county. So we wanted to provide some different loops and recreational options for people that travel in a different form on gravel bikes. One thing to note is that the town of Sterling has been the subject of a lot of our recreational opportunities in the last decade or so. And so we have quite a few identified up there, but there's been talks with the city, with the town of Sterling, and that there's certain routes that are super sandy up there that would not be conducive for biking. So further exploration with the town of Sterling before anything got actually implemented would need to happen. And Supervisor Warrendahl had conversations with them already, so we know certain routes that should be steered clear of in the town. Next slide. And this is just an overview of how our trail network or our bicycle pedestrian network fits in with the regional network. If you look, we've tried to make connections. So Perrin County, St. Croix County, Dunn County have already done their planning. So they identified these routes into the county. So we're trying to connect them by our routes. This one should be connected by the sawmill right here. This goes into Star Prairie, and then there's a connection close to the riverway over here by the Somerset Landing along St. Croix River. All right, next. So priority corridors and implementation. So these are key areas, key focus areas for us if we were to implement some of these projects. As I mentioned, a key consideration is connecting the Stour and the Gandy. And a lot of the public input that we received focused on the southwestern part of the county. That's where the most action is in bicycle and pedestrian activity. So there's some identified routes. So we have several routes that connect the Stour and the Gandy, and the interlink for St. Croix Falls would be up here. So there's several routes to get up into Monteo to Dresser to the Stour up into St. Croix Falls. So the priority routes are the ones outlined in red here, and some potentials would be other spots. This right here would be a rails with trails opportunity that there's places like Duluth, if you've ever been up there, where they have a railway right next to it. They have fencing and then a path. So that's a potential there, but we've identified that this is most preferred route, like that route. Enjoyable and safe. And then we also note that the state highways are areas of opportunity because they have the widest corridors, the widest right of ways, and we can coordinate with them on state road planning projects. And they're also the most direct route between communities in our county. So we keep that on the table going forward. Next one. Next one is connecting Balsam Lake, Centuria, and Milltown. So again, we're trying to steer clear of high traffic and low visibility spots like all these curves on Highway I. It gets you from Balsam Lake to Centuria. It might be the most direct route, but not the safest route. So we have these connections, low travel, still connecting routes, and you can make a loop. A lot of times people that are biking want to have loop routes and not just out and backs. So that has been also a main focus of the plan. Next. Number 3 is connecting Amory and Balsam Lake, and also on the way connecting to Auburn, D.D. Kennedy, and Apple River County Parks. So several goals in one here. You can see, obviously, we're going to have some things to work on about safe crossing of Highway 8 and the county roads, but this is the most direct route that connects to as many of these opportunities as possible. Okay. Connecting Amory, Clear Lake, and Clayton. Obviously, we still have the sawmill, maybe not the most conducive for strictly biking and pedestrian access since it allows every use, but it's available. And these roads are the most likely ways to get to each of the communities and then provide a loop. Try to be as safe as possible and have the least amount of infrastructure needs to get those loops to happen. Next. Pretty straightforward and simple connection from Luck to Straight Lake State Park. So this is the Gandy Dancer. This is the problematic bridge issue here on 270th that the DNR in the future is proposing to eliminate that crossing because it keeps getting hit by trucks. So at some point that'll be an at-grade crossing, which will make it a nice route to go to the east there into Straight Lake State Park. Okay. Next. And then finally, priority corridor 6, we had some conversations throughout this planning process with the National Park Service, as they are the ones that own most of the land up here along the river and some down here. Pedestrian access is no problem. That's something that pretty much every national park allows. The issue would be providing bicycle access over there. They would be open to it, but it would require a lot more coordination, a lot more bureaucratic process in order for that route to happen. But the committee felt like having access to a beautiful part of the county would be a really big asset to the county to have a bicycle pedestrian route along the river. Yep. Next. Couple more additional implementation topics in addition to the goals and objectives. So have an ongoing bike and pedestrian advisory committee to continue working on this plan. Again, generate data. Trail counts is the same, a lot of similar stuff that we've done with the trail network plan that we would like to monitor usage so that we have information to justify whether or not something needs to be added to, shrunk, taken care of, whatever. And then conduct assessments with communities for how well These communities are leveraging trails as economic development tools and tourism resources, and then host events to encourage active transportation and active tourism. And then just a reminder, as planning projects go, after implementation, there's ongoing reassessments of plans, whether it's the comp plan, outdoor recreation plan, this kind of plan. There's set intervals that you should be looking at these plans again and modifying if anything needs to be changed or if a project has been updated or accomplished. Next. That's what I have for an overview of the plan. And now if the committee would like, they can make some comments or questions, or you can open it up to the public for their comments.
Did Sterling come and visit you?
They did not. I talked to him on the phone.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Anybody on the committee? Okay, I guess we'll open it up for public comment then. Anybody with public comments, welcome to come forward. You're just here to listen or talk?
Hi, my name is Donna Anick and I reside in Amory. And I just want to commend you for putting all the work into this plan. I think it's really well needed. I think our county has opportunity to increase the visitors. We have a beautiful county and I think people will come and use these trails. I'm concerned about, first of all, just maintaining our existing trails. I use the Stour Trail a lot, and I've been a little frustrated with the maintenance, and Polk County has done great. When we have a tree down, we call them, they come. But I guess the surface of the trail is concerning. I don't know where the money is going to come from. Because right now we've been told that a lot of times they don't have the money to do things such as update the kiosks. We've filled holes ourselves. I'm talking about, I was on the Friends of Stour for many years. I'm not on it right now. So I guess I want to just suggest or try to really emphasize maintaining the trails that we have existing, and just the recognizing too, the surface of the trail when you have bike and hiking is a lot different than when you have snowmobiles and ATVs. And I just would really like Polk County to recognize that we do need surface that is good or people will not come back. I think we have a lot more e-bikes coming and I think that's awesome. But I do think that if we don't maintain what we have, people aren't going to come back and use what we have. So, but I'm really excited about what's going on. And I really hope that we can get the funding to continue this and to actually maintain what we have existing. So thank you.
Anybody else for public comment? Go ahead. State your name, where you're from.
And this is on the bike plan.
This is on the bike plans.
Public comment on the bike plan.
Hi, my name is Tyler Nornberg, and I'm coming from two perspectives. I'm chair of the Trails and Parks Group in Osceola, and I'm also on the board of Polk County Tourism. And very excited about this plan coming together. And I guess I'm just looking for, official ways that, those of us in Osceola that are doing actively planning trails, how we can connect to this plan. And we also have a new bridge coming into Osceola that'll offer a bike and pedestrian path into Minnesota. And that's something that we'd like to, coordinate as well.
Sure.
And how do we do that?
You can connect with myself and Tony, and we'll help you out with that.
Okay,
Mhm.
sure.
I'll connect.
Thanks.
Yep.
Any other public comment on the plan? Public comment on the plan. Any other public comment on the plan? So ends the public comment. Do we simply close the hearing at this point? Is that the procedure?
That'll work.
I officially close the hearing at this point.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
For a second. Motion made and seconded to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes from the February 3rd meeting.
I'll move to approve them.
Second. Motion made to approve the minutes from the February 3rd meeting. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Public comment. Any public comment? Any public comment? No public comment. We'll move on. See, no, I don't see any supervisors not seated on the committee. Discussion possible action regarding adoption of the Polk County Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan. 26. I assume at this point, this committee just recommends that the plan be forwarded to the county board.
Correct. Yeah, we have a resolution developed for that purpose. Mhm.
I make a motion, we forward the plan to the county board for consideration with. I second.
Motion made and second to forward the plan to the county board with the recommendation of approval. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Done deal. A discussion of possible action regarding rules of order, section 3-82E.
We don't have that.
Here's more.
I can take it since I'm here.
You want me to- that was you.
In your package should be the section from the rules of order, that just has to deal with public safety and public works. So every time that the rules of order come up, on even years, each committee reviews their section of the rules of order. A lot of the times there's not any changes. In the past, we've had a couple here and there. That's not usually where the bulk of the changes are, but if there is something, historically, we've moved, like the Fair Society from one to the other, or like we've moved trails around a little bit with things according to that, from like environmental services to public safety. But unless you have anything to review, you don't need to do anything. So. You'll be seeing like the full rules of order changes and stuff. I think that's gonna come to April's county board because it's always adopted by the new board. So the old board set what they think the rules for the new board should be, and the new board adopts. So we always review the rules of order beforehand.
I don't see anything that needs to be changed at this point.
So be at the county board also.
Okay.
There'll be probably some comments on people, remote in from meetings and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
that'll be at the April board meeting.
That'll be at the board meeting, so.
So this is just for our review at this point?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
And you would need action if you wanted to change anything, but if it's changing, then you should be okay.
Takes a while to find paperwork in the stack. Okay, so then we're on to number 10. Discussion and possible action regarding resolution 0626, resolution to amend the county code of ordinances, chapter 28, article 2, large public assembly. Do they have copies of that in here?
Yes.
Page 211.
211?
211. Yeah. You're welcome.
Oh, yeah.
So we did incorporate some of those changes that we had talked about at the last meeting, and then those are in the, I believe those are redlined in the current version that you have in your hands there.
Had some conversation regarding this plan and some concerns. So I have some suggested language changes. First of which would be under 2810.
2810?
Yeah. Called 28-21. On the second page. Yeah.
Which one you're talking about then?
My numbers aren't jiving here, so just give me a second.
Oh, that sure don't.
And I did this on the road, going down the road coming home from Texas, so I might have some with Lisa on it.
What are you referring to?
Well, I think probably the biggest one would be under the medical, which is 14. That's some different language here.
It says emergency response plan and medical is crossed out
Yeah. Is that on
right
yours?
here.
Okay. So this, yeah, they crossed that out.
We made the change to, we removed emergency response from a lot of things and just added the number 19. That's an emergency response plan with the Polk County Emergency Manager to kind of incorporate that instead of trying to fit all those little pieces into the different spots in the ordinance. That way they can work with currently Lisa, but hopefully for a long time, Lisa. And then in the future, moving forward, anybody who's the emergency, like we don't want to put specific names. Of course, we want to put the title. So working with the Polk County Emergency Manager on what they would deem appropriate to be in the plan. Because if you try to pigeonhole all those little things in there, it's going to make it very complicated very fast.
Yeah, and corporate counsel. We give the permit to have the event. But shouldn't it be up to the entities to provide all this? In other words, come up with their own emergency plan, come up with the required EMTs, medical protection, all that. Do we have some liability if our emergency management would approve a plan and then there'd be a disaster? Now Jay will always say we have some liability no matter what. I know that. They go after the big pocket, but shouldn't we be insulating ourselves from these these evacuation plans and the sort? And I mean, we don't tell the Polk County Fair how to evacuate the fairgrounds. They come up with an evacuation plan as part of their deal. Go to the school, okay? So, if we're approving these developed plans and somehow in error, don't compensate to get enough people to a safe area or however it is, why would we want that liability on the county?
Yeah, and I think you can say that of basically any provision is how deep do we want to go in all of this? And certainly, there's arguments both ways, is if we don't have it in there, are we liable for not mandating some sort of emergency services? I think we're protected in that we're very confident in the work that Lisa does. And they would need to put together that response plan. As I understand the proposed amendments, they would need to put it together, present it to Ms. McMahon or the Polk County Emergency Manager, and then it would be addressed that way. Chair Luke is correct. There's always liability. You can always get sued. Whether or not there's legal grounds for it is one thing. But I understand the concern, and that's going to be ultimately up to the committee to decide how in depth do we want to get on this.
Well, that's the concern I've had, so. I think when it comes to an emergency response plan, they need to go to their local fire department, EMTs or whatever they're gonna go to, or have somebody do that instead of us.
Sure, and that's ultimately up to you guys. And I guess the only other caveat I would throw in is I know it's the wishes, and how this all came about is regarding enforcement. And I know there's wishes to have an enforceable ordinance as we begin kind of what I would call the event season. Certainly people have events in winter, but spring, summer, and fall, I think predominantly are the dates that those occur.
When you say an enforceable plan, are you trying to tell me it's not enforceable?
As it's written right now, that is the problem, which is what triggered this whole.
Well, that's the concern I have. That's why I'm wondering where we're going here. And I'm sure law enforcement's wondering where we're going to, so they know what to expect and what to look for.
That language we had presented last time, I think towards the end there, basically section 2823 is what we had changed last time. So that's not still redlined because it was already brought to the board, to this committee, at least at the last meeting. But this language that is added makes it enforceable that if they don't have all this proper, all the permitting and stuff in place, it gives the sheriff the ability to either shut the event down, and then it gives us the ability to do those citations afterwards as well. Whereas the previous ordinance did not have that language in there. The previous ordinance basically said you can have, if you don't have the permit, there was nothing we could do. If they had the permit but didn't meet all the criteria, then we could do something. But for simply not having the licensure, there was no teeth to it whatsoever. So that was the main purpose of starting this, and then we've tried to fine tune some things along the way as we've gone here.
Well, I'm not very well prepared because I didn't have this red line version with me on my trip. Okay. So, I still have those concerns, so I'm not sure where to go with it at this point. Is this our last swing at it?
We can always redo it in the future. The concern is with increasing the time to the 60 days, that there's especially one event that gets a permit every year that we would now be running into well in that 60 days where they would probably fall under the old ordinance rather than this new language.
About troll hogging?
Is that a
Right now, the way it's written, the license applicant does have to provide their own emergency plan. And they just review, Lisa would just be the one reviewing it, signing off that it met the intent of.
What's the permit for that one?
Their mud bog thing that they do,
Recreational activity.
but it's an extended.
Also, is that covered under the recreational activity cherry picker statute? Where we're exonerated from any liability?
Ultimately, I'm gonna give the lawyer answer, which is it depends. Certainly by attending such an event, there would be an anticipation or assumption of risk to an extent. However, I think some of the things that are contemplated in the large assembly ordinance would not be covered. Inherently, that's a dangerous event, but certainly there's things that the planners can do. I don't know the number of attendees they usually have. I'm not familiar with that event, so.
Yeah.
So all of those requirements that fall under that section are things that the applicant have to provide. They have to provide the plans. They have to provide it signed off by the local fire chief. They have to provide that plan to the emergency manager to be signed off on. All those things are on the event planners to bring forward.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
One item you should consider striking on this as a committee is under section 2821, the licensure, down to number 14, section A. An emergency medical station capable of providing assistance is required with 2 EMTs in there. But we also have in there that at least 1 emergency ambulance available for use at all times. It's kind of overkill, and if there was 2 events or 3 events going on at the same time, you'd be tying up 3 county ambulances for the entire event.
Yeah.
So I think the EMT medical tent should provide enough for
I
that.
don't think we should put that at all. Here's something new that I've had some conversations with our EMS. This is stuff I just came up with the last few days.
That's the same copy that the chairman's looking at.
Is it?
Speak past that.
She-
Just finished it.
She's sharing a language change for 14.
Is that what you're looking at, Steve?
I think so. On-site medical services staff, on-site medical services staffing plan shall be approved by emergency medical services that are responsible for the regular EMS coverage at the jurisdiction where the assembly will be held. The EMS service director or the designated representative shall sign the plan as part of the permit process. That's, again, getting the county out from under liability in my, let them figure out their, what they need on their own instead of putting the burden on all the ambulance service that we have in the county, but that's a change that I thought should be made under medical services provided for the event.
You have that, Siobhan?
Olive.
I can give you my copy,
Yeah. So I'm so late to this game. This is my. Rather than since we had already put something through. So I need to see what. It's too late.
Lisa, you and I had some conversations as well about the emergency response plan. We're all, reasonably anticipated hazards. Approved and signed by the designated head of the emergency management for the jurisdiction, which probably fall back on her, but they may have their own. I mean, the fire chief could sign off on it, of somebody else, or they could have, in the event of Osceola's, they have their own. They have their own, team management person that could sign off. And this verbiage covers Wisconsin statute, chapter 2, 3-13. So it's got actually statutory language in it. Kind of locks it down a little better, in my opinion.
Okay. Would you, the committee then be apprised to change number 14 and number 19 in that section then to this new language? And then move on to county board for approval?
Get that. Somebody has to
I'll
make.
make a motion to comply with that. You got it down.
I'll give it to her, Jay. I'll
You
give it to her.
got all of them?
Just the
19?
Yeah,
So,
19 and.
One concern I have about putting, like we removed from one other one, is putting the specific chapters in there, because if the state changes the chapters or it moves to a different part of the state, then we have to change our ordinance to move those as well. So we try to avoid putting direct chapter numbers into something like this. So that way, if the state moves it, it doesn't automatically remove what we have in ours.
I see your situation, but I believe that statute is where we get our teeth. When we're asking them to do something according to statute, so pretty easy to change. All you have to do is, cross it out on the next revival. If that happens.
Solution would just be to strike the chapter just in accordance with Wisconsin statute. I would pose, and I'm obviously addressing chair, but I'm wondering, does this create a mandate on municipalities, or the applicable municipality? And are they willing to do this for the events?
As far as the emergency management,
Yes.
they're already obligated under 323 to have a designated emergency contact. So this doesn't change any obligation. It just means that they would go to the municipality first, and if they need the county's assistance, then they could come to me. But everybody should be designated an emergency contact. Every municipality, all the way down to the town level. So the reference in our ordinance is not to the fact that they need to approve this plan, just that they have to have an emergency contact. And I just didn't want it to be generic that anybody could sign off on it, that it should be the designated contact for that municipality, because otherwise, again, anybody could sign off. And we didn't want to say certified, because that's a very difficult status to have. Somebody certified, that can take years to become certified.
Oh,
And that would be essentially leaving it only to me, which I would prefer that. Not only that they sign off on the plan, but they're aware that the event is even taking place, because it shouldn't be on me to notify them that the event is taking place. The event organizers should be the ones that are working with the local government to make sure that they're not placing undue burden on them with their event, versus the county saying, yes, you can have this event, but they don't even know about it and they don't know the impact to their emergency services. So that was my intent, is that the local government not only is aware of the event, but has approved it because they're understand the burden it places on their fire, EMS, and emergency coordination among those agencies. But if the county just says that the plan is okay, doesn't mean that it can be carried out in that local jurisdiction. because I'm not completely aware of everybody's capabilities for emergency services. So if the EMS and the fire and the municipality knows what their capabilities are, they could approve that. And then we can issue the permit. My apologies for this being so late, but these conversations took place later because I had to reach out to emergency services to get their input on this. That's where that came from.
That's trying to have me
Sure, I
confused.
mean, sure, if the committee desires to have the state statute number in there, we'll just put it in there and then we'll have to.
Yeah. I'm okay with taking it out. But it can be explained to them that that's a statute they need to follow. Okay, I mean, I'm fine with that. My point was changing it just as easy as what we're doing right here. We're just crossing a line through it. Okay, next revision. I think we need to get into. I'm not gonna argue about it. Just saying. Lisa's being you're so involved at this point. So you and I done a lot of this over the phone, but what's this subsection C, B10? The wording is when determined to be reasonably necessary to protect safety, welfare, and attendees and community and the neighborhood property owners. That's another red change on this document, but
It was more just intended to, again, not make this overly burdensome, that if there was already a fence in place on a property, or if there was not really a need for a fence based on when it was unnecessary, that it wouldn't be put into place because it does restrict access for emergency vehicles. So it was just to allow an option for them to not have a fence, but that if that's not, it's not a critical component. So if there's concern about not requiring fencing, then I would not worry about that one. I just wanted to make sure that the fence wasn't actually gonna cause access issues for emergency services, but we do have in here that the fire department has to sign off on their plan. So if the plan does not include access or egress for a fire, then it should be covered under that. So this would be very optional for fencing.
okay.
And Chair, I certainly understand the want to include that language, and I'm wondering if it would, if it is deemed to be necessary, if this is the appropriate location, because we look at sub B, the application shall be provided to the county clerk. So that's in the application stage of things, where the determination likely wouldn't occur until later on.
Yeah, I'm okay with this. I'm not gonna push that language. Okay. We almost got there. We had a motion to approve the changes in 14 and 19.
So you want to do the proposed changes, but you're okay leaving out that chapter 320?
Yep,
Okay.
yeah, I scratched it off, so.
I'd second that motion.
Motion made and seconded to make necessary changes, to 14 and 19 for the ordinance. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Number 11, discussion possible action regarding the DNR MOU with Stour 7th Lakes Trails.
Yes, Mr. Chair, good news. We got our last, just about our last comments back from the DNR on the 26th. We did get all the language we wanted in there for the planning process and having us, the county have a seat at the table for the planning. With that, minimizing risks then of it, on that. The only thing we have left now is for our corporation council and the DNR Corporation Council to look at the indemnification language.
Yep, so unfortunately, I haven't been able to connect with Misty, I believe is the name. I'm hopeful to be able to do that within the next week or so. But that is the specific subject or topic is indemnification.
That's the only thing we have left, and at that time, we'd be ready to bring this to the county board then, in March. Hopefully we'll get, across that line, so you guys have a chance to review prior to county board. And be ready to, for us to, get authorization signed.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see it prior to the county board and not just one day either.
Right.
So,
Yeah, their DNR council name is Joe.
well, we don't really have anything to discuss. You're just gonna make the comments.
Yes.
Questions, anybody? Moving on to the fair update. See any representatives from the fair here? Any?
Do you have any representations from the fair? We do have the discussion of the MOU on here. If you wanted to move closed session more towards the end of the meeting, that'd be totally up to you.
I think that would be wise. Cause I'd like the room to be clear when we do that. Okay, discussion. So we will move closed session to the end of the meeting. Updates from CJCC.
So I can provide that as our case manager and diversion program coordinator right now. In front of you, you've got a pretty picture. I'll come back to that at the end. And then you've got a set of tables. The administrator asked that the CJCC provide some historical context for the committee in terms of participation in the CJCC program. So that's why we've got these 5 tables on this sheet. So in the left column, we've got the program and some data about the program. In the middle column, we've got the results for the month of January of this year. And then the February results are in the far right column. MRT, how much changed a little bit down for should have brought my glasses up here for February. MRT is moral recognition therapy, and that's moral decision making. If you hadn't heard that term before, I had it explained to you, and it's for justice involved individuals to help them understand the implications of their actions and to think about others when they're making decisions. First time offender is exactly what it sounds like. It's for people who this is their first, what would we say, interaction with law enforcement, at least as much as we know. And that's kind of a lumpy program. We tend to do it every few months, and so we'll see some months with not a lot of participation, and then we'll have 4 to 7 or so in a subsequent month. So we've got 4 that completed in February. IDIP, intoxicated driver, also pretty much what it sounds like. I can't remember if it's for 3rd or 4th OWI offense, but you have to have more than a couple of interactions in terms of alcohol arrests to be in this program. And so we've got just a couple of people in it right now. It turns out that sentencing guidelines and other things that are imposed upon all of us by Department of Justice are really limiting enthusiasm for on the part of participants of this program, and have been for several years. Substance diversion is really meth cases with not necessarily any mental health, attending mental health issues. That's always been a tough program for us to staff or to recruit for. And then treatment court's kind of the flagship program, humming along with 12 individuals right now. And now I'll return folks' attention to this, the invitation to graduation. This particular graduation is sort of a case in point in terms of drug addiction, mental health issues can hit any family, anywhere, anytime. We're very happy to have Justin Pinger graduating. We've had in my own family issues with substance abuse and drugs that have involved law enforcement, maybe not in this county, but maybe in others. So our own family's been touched by these sorts of issues, and I think Justin Pinger's family certainly has as well. We're very proud that he'll be graduating here in April. And we would love to have committee members, folks from the community, and board members at that graduation. It's really a great thing to see.
I'll be there in April.
John? Wonderful. Right. Anything else?
Thank you. Thank you much. You're very serious about that.
Step one,
Yeah.
I agree, going to those graduations is something. It really does stick kind of with you when you see and hear about these people that, you know, lost their kids, they lost their job, they lost their car, they don't have a house. And then to hear their progression through the program, that they're got a job, they got housing, back seeing their kids. It's a rewarding thing to go through. I suggest everybody try it.
Supervisor.
I think it's kind of a ripple effect that people feel that, well, if you can do it, you know, we can do it. So it's a big incentive.
Thank you, Supervisor Bonaprise. Both your support and Chair Warndall's support have been just wonderful to have over the last several years. The case manager and the coordinator feel supported, as do the participants. So thank you both very much. And I know Chair Warndall is fortunately outgoing, but we really have appreciated your involvement, sir. Thank you very much.
I think I'll still go.
We would like to have you.
Okay. Update from Public Works.
Right, I'll provide that this month with Rod being off. Obviously, the weather's warming up nicely right now. We're getting a touch of spring. With that, ATV, UTV, frozen ground use on the Gandy that closed this morning. We coordinated that with Burnett County, so it is also closed in Burnett County. Obviously, the snowmobile trails have been closed for a while now. Our snowpack is getting down to about nothing, so it's been kind of a light second half of the winter here snow-wise, so I don't foresee that we'll enter back into open trails by the end of the month, but you never know. It's March in Wisconsin, so we'll see what happens. With that spring melt, we're also keeping an eye on the dam at Clam Falls. Just watching that. We have some rain coming later this week and warm temperatures, so we'll watch that water level and see if we need to make any adjustments to that. And then the pedestrian bridge at D.D. Kennedy Park, the new bridge is in place. Right now, they are working on getting the pilings out for the temporary bridge that they put in place while they did the work. And their plan is to get that completed, finish that up today and tomorrow, and get the cranes off site tomorrow before the road restrictions hit. And then we'll just be working with them moving forward on restoration for the site. And then once the asphalt plants open up in spring, the paving done to the approaches of the bridge. So that project should be wrapping up here. We're on the tail end of that. So that's all I have from Parks and Public Works update.
Questions or comments? Moving on to 15, update from Highway.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Well, as it's already been mentioned, road restrictions will go into effect on Thursday, March 5th at noon for the county trunk highways that we post in Polk County. County Road W, Double G, D, and County Road H are the only county roads we post segments of them. State Highway 65, I just got a notification from WisDOT this morning. We will be putting the posting on State Highway 65 from US Highway 8 to Star Prairie on Monday, March 9th at noon. So next Monday that goes into effect. Last meeting, we discussed an open position at Highway. Glad to report that our new hire started last Wednesday and has been going through his orientation and onboarding at Highway, getting up to speed on stuff. Our new Blend Boss brine system pump was installed last week. This was funded through a DMA from the state. It's a mixer that can blend our different tank products, like beet juice and our salt brine. It can do different mixtures for us.
25-75, 30-70% mixes. It's automated. The guys just hit the product they want. It dispenses the correct gallons into the truck. And then we can track those gallons a little better because it prints a ticket for them. So that was funded through WISDOT through a discretionary maintenance agreement we had. Two of our plow truck chassis are now at Universal Truck to get outfitted with our equipment. One chassis was ordered in 2024 and is just in queue to get its equipment put on at Universal. And one was ordered the beginning of 25. So it just gives you an idea of how long it takes from the time we bid these trucks, award the bid, get them ordered, and then get the trucks delivered to the equipment builder. And it's still several months till we'll see the truck with the equipment on it. Two replacement flagging vans have been ordered. One foreman pickup truck was ordered off the awarded bids we had a month ago. This is our last month renting our boom bucket truck for cleaning woody vegetation and overhanging branches and other obstructions off the county and state right-of-ways. And a lot of brush cutting with our crews, by hand with the chipper and our new Fecon mulching head attachment on that mini excavator and our lawn tractor. So they've been doing a lot of right-of-way clearing this spring or this winter, now spring. Tons of pothole filling going on still, traditional pothole filling, and we've had the spray patch truck out doing some work with the weather permitting. We're busy preparing for our spring bids to go out for our materials and services for the summer construction season, construction and maintenance. I did pass out the financial report. There wasn't one last month. This one is for the month of January for highway. And I also just passed out a brief informational document highlighting some information on the Work Zone Safety Awareness Week. Just if you had any questions or wanted to see a little bit more about the timeline for Work Zone Awareness Safety Week, some of the events that they sponsor and stuff like that. That's all I had at this time, Mr. Chair.
Josh, how many applicants did you have for the position, and can you announce the name of the new hiree?
We ended up hiring a young gentleman, Levi King. He's from the Luck area. Seems like an outstanding, he's very young, but looks very promising. So we're excited to have him on board. We had 7 applicants we interviewed.
Okay, any questions at all for Josh? We got to get on to this discussion and possible action regarding resolution 0526. Designating the week of April 20 through 24, 26 as a work zone safety week in Polk County.
I think the resolution is pretty explanatory in itself. And I make a motion that we move to the county board with approval for consideration.
I'll second. Min second to forward resolution 05-26 of the county board. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, thanks, Josh. Sheriff update, please.
I'll make mine really quick today.
I'll move to 17.
Just last week, I attended a post-vention training to deal with the aftermath of suicide. That was a community response for that. You know, we have anywhere from 5 to 15 suicides a year in Polk County, and we don't really do much after the fact. And it is something that creates a higher risk if we don't do something. So I'm looking forward. We're having a work group that will start on the 26th of this month to get the plan in action, but it involves all community stakeholders from fire EMS to funeral homes to faith leaders, all that in the county. So I'm excited for that. That was hosted by the Mental Health Task Force. So Lisa Murphy is responsible for that. So great job on her part. We received a drug trafficking grant again, $25,000. What we will do with that is put it towards technology that helps us with these investigations. As you know, cell phone technology is expensive, so we always can use extra money for technology. And then finally, we have 2 positions to fill in the jail, and we'll be doing interviews this Friday. So doing pretty good on staffing. Any questions?
This group will be available for all local fire.
That's the goal. That's the goal, to get an aftermath of a suicide response, to have a plan to go forward for the survivors, for the family members, the grieving family and whatnot, and even wellness for our first responders and law enforcement and everybody. So very excited about it.
Good deal. It's been needed for a while.
Yes.
Good deal. Any questions or comments?
Oh, excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Update from Administrator Norby, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair, just a couple things. Sales tax for February was a little better, only down 3.6 from last year. So overall, so far this year, we're down 33,000 from 2025 so far. So that was looking better. ADRC transportation, our drivers are needed, so they're looking for volunteers for that. If you know someone, get the word out. They are reimbursed 72.5 cents per mile. We do have just an update in CSD, DHS contracts, where we used to be able to charge those grants continually. Now it's done on a quarterly basis. So we'll have to cover those expenses on those grants until we get our revenues back on those. 3-inch imagery is now available on Beacon for the GIS site. So if you click on that and use that site, it goes down a 3-inch resolution now. So that's pretty exciting for land information. And then in EDC, Terry Hauer is retiring at the end of the month. So I'd like to thank Terry for all he's done for economic development. And so they'll be looking for another person for economic development, if you know anyone that's interested. And that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Questions or comments?
Thanks, Terry. Great job.
Update from Supervisor Rowdy regarding the ATV, UTV.
There was no meeting today, so.
Okay.
There's rest.
Then we'll review the 26 work plan. If we have anything additional there, can we find it in this thing?
I look,
Near the bottom.
Almost the last page.
I separated them.
Okay.
you have nothing on here for April.
I don't have anything that I know of.
I don't either. It'd be pretty hard to add something to a new committee anyway, pretty much.
What will be this committee in April?
That's right, the early meeting, yeah. For
It'll be the same day as election day,
7th.
the 7th, yes. And then the new board is set on the 21st.
It is 21st.
So don't forget to get out and vote in April.
Then I guess
We'll
we're
be there.
looking for a motion to go into closed session.
I so move.
Made and second to go in closed session. All those in favor say aye.
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 Favor, say aye.
Aye.
Yeah, no.
Got a low